And welcome. Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome to the show. Tonight's show is the Prof's, what is it? Tuesday night Delphi show. It's called Fruit of the Poisonous Tree. Okay. Fruit of the Poisonous Tree. And tonight we're going to be discussing the unconstitutional search, interrogation, and arrest of Richard Allen. And so it's a pretty involved show, but this is part 3 of our series that's covering the appellant's brief in the Delphi case against Richard Allen. So this is part three, our final installment. I'm glad to be here. If you've missed the prior two episodes, please go check them out. They're the immediate two prior live streams, and you'll be caught up if you take the time to listen to all of these. You'll be caught up on the entire appellant's brief and all of the appellate issues that are currently at play. Now, we haven't even begun to really touch upon the post conviction possibilities or the issues that are at play here for a possible post conviction scenario or any other furtherance of any sort of appeal uh, on a higher level. But we've been discussing the limited scope of the appellate's brief or what the appellate attorneys for Richard Allen have decided to bring forward uh, at this point in time. So we're going to be hitting part three. And so, like I said, if you've missed part one and two, please do go check them out. There's a lot of concerning information. And tonight, it'll be our final installment. And I'd like to welcome any new viewers. If you're new here, I want to let you know we just love new faces coming into the community. So please do feel absolutely right at home. Come on into the live chat, come on into the comment sections, and introduce yourselves and let your voices be heard because we just want to welcome all the new folks. And please remind you to hit the subscribe button and also, like I mentioned, leave your comments below because we'd love to have you as a subscriber and a community member and hear from you on a regular basis. So please do that and welcome in all the new folks. Okay, I'm glad to see you. And I'm sure everyone in the chat will be glad to welcome you in. And speaking of that, I want to say hello to my people who were here early tonight. I'm always running late, if you happen to know me. I'm not a procrastinator, but I do run late. So that's my deal. But anyway, let's see who we had here earlier. We had It's a New Day, Fur Baby Daddy, Deb731, Quadaxo Mimi, Rebecca Ann. We had Critter Mama come in. Hello, Mandy Boo. Hello. Rotting Jules got a notification. Hey, what's up, Dana? Okay, we had Kay come in. Christopher, 88A. We had Mustang, Carla Ann. And who else we got in here? Well, I don't know. Four Pits Across America. There he is. Everyone go subscribe to Four Pits. Go subscribe to Rotting Jules. And anyone else who has a channel where you're producing content, please let your channel be known. And our viewers will go subscribe to you. What's up, Mr. Claremont? We have author Claremont in the house. Yeah, I see people coming in. So it's great to see everyone. Okay. Well, also, if you've missed my community page, hey, don't be slipping, don't be caught slipping or sleeping on the community page. We have two channels here at the Prof. We got the Prof and the Prof True Crime. That's two different community pages full of different information. And today I dropped an absolute bomb on the community page. Um, sorry, my phone's supposed to be off here. Let me turn this phone off. All right. Just a minute. Okay, just a minute. Pardon me. All right, I apologize for that amateur hour. But people won't stop calling and texting. Please don't call or text during the show. I'm trying my best over here to turn the shit off, but I'm having a little problem. All right, so appellate issues. We're going to dive right in because we got a long way to go. Okay. But I wanted to draw your attention for, especially for new viewers, to the community pages. There's lots of important, relevant information, even going back 2+ years. So when you have the time, go explore my community pages and go on back in time. You're going to find a lot there. So that's a free community resource for you, okay? As well as all of our former content that's up on the channel, free for your viewing pleasure, okay? With that being said, I do love the support. So if you enjoy what you're seeing here, please subscribe and also support the channel over at Cash App. If you look at my link tree, which is posted at the top of the chat. You'll see all of my support pathways, and you can see Deb has provided it here. It's linktree at underscore the prof. Okay, so please go support the channel. I'd like to say that these three shows regarding the appellate issues for the case of Richard Allen uh, are courtesy of a couple of my donors, and you know who you are because I had a donor or two send in very nice contributions, and it is due to them and their support that. Sorry, looks like I'm having audio issues now. Jesus, man, hold on. Check, 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 check. All right, listen. I can't please everyone all the time, but it's feeling like amateur hour tonight. I feel like a disaster. I don't know what's going on with the audio. Sorry for the audio. If someone's fucking with me in the chat, like they are known to do, and just trying to distract me with the audio, just take it in terms of this community is absolutely insane. Okay, it's full of trolls. They come in and they play these games, but regardless, we're going to move forward because there's a lot to get into. Like I said, if you can't hear me, I apologize. I noticed that my volume is not looking correct on my interface, so that's upsetting me. Let's see what's going on here with the volume. Check, 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 check. Okay. Um, so just give me a moment. I'm not getting check, check. Check. All right. I don't know if someone's messing with me with the audio. Hey, do me a favor, mods. Whoever complained about the audio, get them the hell out of here right now. All right. Whoever it was with the audio, permanent ban. That's what we're going to do. All right. So, appellate issues. Um, as I mentioned, the prior two episodes were solely centered around the appellate briefs or the appellant's brief. We covered items 3 and then item 2, and tonight we're heading on to item 1, which is the omissions and straight up lies or deception by Tony Liggett in regard to the search warrant application or the PCA. So we're going to get that. Now, this is the appellant's brief here for those of you who are not sure on what you're looking at. Okay, appellant's brief. And I think we can jump ahead a few pages to our content here. Let's see, I think it's about here. Now you'll see here the top 3 issues, okay? Top 3 issues. We have whether the search of Allen's house was unconstitutional and the resulting evidence inadmissible because law enforcement omitted or altered key facts in the warrant application. That's our topic tonight. And the prior two are number 2 and 3 here, where you can see number 2 is about the false confessions or statements Allen made while gravely ill. And number 3, whether the judge denied Allen his right to a fair trial and a complete defense, etc. So that's that. So we're going to get into our subject matter for tonight. Let's see. I think we're going to be, make sure I'm on the right page here. Yeah, there we go. Number 1, warrant. Okay, so this is our deal here. Check. Yeah, my audio still doesn't look right. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. All right, check, check. Well, our issue tonight, warrant, number 1 here. All right, so the Bridge Guy video on February 13th, 2017, around 1:30 p.m., around 1 p.m., around 1:49 p.m. Uh, excuse me, before we go any further, can someone please explain why all the discrepancies from the families over the years? Someone explain that. Uh, can we talk about why we could never get a straight answer from the family, from law enforcement, from the investigators, from the POIs? But regardless, okay, the contradictions are overwhelming in this case, but let's continue. The Bridge Guy video around 1:30 p.m. or so, I would say 1 p.m., 2 p.m., who the hell knows. The allegation is that Liberty's older sister dropped off these two girls at the High Bridge Trail to explore and take photos. No, 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 no. Let's correct that record right there. It wasn't to explore and take photos, okay? It was to meet up with a cute guy or two. Okay, the objective of these little girls who asked to go out there that day is because they had arranged a rendezvous with a cute rich guy who didn't exist, known as Anthony Schatz, right? So these girls were going out there to rendezvous with a couple cute guys who were actually monsters that they ended up intersecting with. But this is clearly echoing the fairy tale narrative here, that the girls had the day off from school and the weather was unseasonably warm. Can't make it up. Can't make this. There's never a lacking of gaslighting in the Delphi sphere. When the girls failed to meet Liberty's father at a specified time and no one could reach them, Libby's family absolutely lost their shit. Now, that's another thing. They have our girls. Let's talk about that. Why do you think the family freaked out to the extent they did when those girls didn't show up? I have a suggestion. How about the fact that they knew that Libby had been mm, inappropriately communicating with some boys and that there was possibly some contentious stuff going on? And how about the fact that they had access to her iCloud? They possibly looked at the messaging and saw that she had intended to rendezvous with this Anthony Schatz character, and maybe the other girl did too. Maybe it was a double date or whatever. Maybe when they figured out that these girls were interacting with strangers on the internet through Kick or Plenty of Fish or Instagram or whoever, you know, maybe they knew those girls had been talking to questionable, mysterious internet figures, phantoms, catfishers, and maybe they freaked out the way that they did because they knew at that point in time that they were likely kidnapped by these monsters hiding behind fake accounts on the internet. Did that ever occur to anyone? Libby's family absolutely lost their freaking shit, okay, at the time this all occurred. And an extensive freak out began. And remember, immediately, all of the volunteer firemen, okay, all of the police officers, all of the family members, everybody, there was the most immense, immediate mobilization of individuals from the community you could ever imagine. Okay. That that's food for thought. Okay, let that be food for thought. Now, the next claim is also somewhat of a conundrum because we know it's not legitimately authentic or reflective of reality, which is that the next day around noon, the girls were found. No, they weren't. They were found that morning murdered. Okay. And there was a whole bunch of lies by the individuals who came out and law enforcement as to what time the girls were found. And if you want absolute solid proof of that, all you have to do is go to David Erskine and reference his statements, right? There's also this letter that I posted on my community page regarding Dustin Maggard finding the bodies. Okay. Now, is that true? Who knows? Because everyone's lied, right? The family's not been honest. The witnesses have not been honest. Law enforcement has not been honest. The searchers and rescuers have not been honest. No one's been honest in any of this. I mean, other than possibly the FBI at a couple points in time. So we don't even know who found the girls, when they were found, and all of this. So anytime you're reading this stuff, this is all based on the fairy tale narrative. Just keep that in mind. Okay, that's what we're actually looking at. However, the best evidence law enforcement had was from allegedly what was alleged to be Liberty German's phone found at the crime scene conveniently under Abby Williams' body. The hypothesis here is that Liberty German recorded a 43-second video showing Abby Williams walking across the bridge with someone, bridge guy, behind her. Law enforcement enhanced the video, yielded the following. Now, keep in mind, as I'm saying to you, this is all fairy tale narrative. None of this has been absolutely confirmed by anyone. There's just a whole bunch of gaslighting, a whole bunch of fake evidence thrown out there onto social media, by the way, not actually delivered from the court system, and a whole bunch of assumptions about this entire narrative and the scenario and what took place and the sequence of events and the nature of the evidence. Keep all that in mind. Okay. Now, keep in mind when you're looking at this image right here, you're also looking at a figment of your imagination, right? This has been fabricated by Disney, NASA, and Gray Media and the Indiana State Police, right? Right? For anyone to not be able to admit that, you're lying to yourself. So let's keep in mind that even this is highly questionable. It's dubious at best. And you've really got to ask yourself what kind of case would be so convoluted, chock full of artificial, fabricated, false, deceptive evidence, statements, witnesses, law enforcement, etc. And then just coincidentally, they give willy-nilly clearance to all of the people who were actually involved, who were actually POIs, who were legitimate POIs, and who actually confessed to multiple individuals over the years. But that's what we're going to be getting into in the next month ahead. So now it says this man is heard telling the girls down the hill. Law enforcement set up a tip line, and many people came forward. 16-year-old Rayleigh Voorhees, her sisters, Isabella Voorhees and Anna Spath, and her friend Bree Wilbur told police that they were on the trail. Let's count those girls. Let's see. One, two, three, four, right? Rayleigh Voorhees, Isabel Voorhees, Anna Spath, Bree Wilbur told police that they were on the trail. As they were leaving, they saw a man near the entrance to Freedom Bridge, which is nowhere near this crime scene, by the way. Okay. You can't make it up. Law enforcement set up a tip line, and many people came forward. Betsy Blair, who frequently walked the trails for exercise, came forward and told police she saw another man on the high bridge standing on a platform and seemed to be waiting for someone. Now, keep in mind, Betsy Blair's description differed significantly from these other four girls. So now we have five girls, right? We have five girls. Four of them give a description of a very large man with salt and pepper, black and gray hair, or dark colored and gray hair, who was large, who was dressed in essentially all black, right? Possibly jeans. This differs significantly from Betsy Blair's description, which is a young man in his 20s who clearly does not have any gray hair on his head and who is not large and muscular and who also coincidentally has poofy hair and no head covering. So completely different descriptions, completely different individuals. And we're only here at this line. She thought the man was the guy in the video because he was wearing the same clothes. When she reached the bridge, she turned around and noticed two girls approaching. Of course, she could not identify the two girls. Now, the state runs with the narrative that these two girls are the victims. However, no one's ever confirmed that she absolutely identified the victims. Just like no one could ever confirm that Mr. Richard Allen was ever identified as the person that any of these people saw. Keep all that in mind because it gets even worse. 4 months after the murders, law enforcement interviewed Sarah Lying Ass Carbaugh. That's right. She told police that on February 13th, now keep in mind this is 4 months later, while driving eastbound on County Road 300, she saw a man who was muddy and wearing a tan coat. Now let's go back to this image. Does this look tan? Is there any possibility on earth that this is tan? I'm just asking for the smart people in the back. Is there anyone on earth who would look at this jacket and claim that it is tan colored? I'll wait. Yeah, I didn't think so. So let's go back to this. Yeah, everyone noticed the tan coat and all the mud and blood, right? All right, let's move on. She saw a guy wearing a tan coat that was muddy. Of course, like you can't make it up, right? After seeing this image that I've just shown you, she said he possibly was the man she had seen. Okay, possibly. Now, 5.5 years later, on September 21st, 2022, law enforcement claims, now here we go with the fairy tale narrative again, because we've already determined this is a false story. Okay, so everyone should pay attention and put this in your notebook if you're keeping notes. These appellate attorneys are only arguing the state's narrative. They're not arguing legitimate facts. Keep that in mind. Law enforcement claims they rediscovered a tip from Allen, which is a lie. They did not rediscover it. A couple YouTubers and sleuths had identified Richard Allen in the year or two prior to his arrest and handed it over to the prosecutor and law enforcement. And they then decided to target Richard Allen, right? Once they decided to target Richard Allen, they had to come up with some excuse as to how and why they discovered Richard Allen that would bypass being handed the information from a couple YouTuber sleuths. So the way they did that, they came up with a fairy tale scenario narrative, which is just say you found it in a drawer. Okay. So then they had someone say, oh, we just found it in a box in a drawer when we were moving shit around. Of course, thanks to a YouTuber who's actually looked deeply at this, Amy G over at Daisy Ask, we've discovered that there's no way that that happened that way because there's a receipt that proves it's false in that alleged discovery was printed out days prior. Right. That means it's not true. That means the story they tell ain't true. So there are multiple layers here because we've also had a couple different YouTubers and Facebook group moderators admit that they discovered and handed Richard Allen over to the Unified Command. That's right. So none of this makes sense. It's all lies. It's all lies on Delphi. Never forget it. Now, let's take a step back or two. In February of 2017, Allen called Unified Command and said he was at the trails, okay? Maybe between 1 and 3, according to Dan Doolin. Now, remember, this is also not true. Remember, none of this in here, even though this is by his appellate attorneys, Stacey Uliana and Mark Lehman, even though this is by Richard Allen's appellate attorneys, it's full of information that's untrue. For instance, Richard Allen never claims or admits that he called and said he was there between 1 and 3, right? The state's narrative that they are unable to substantiate or prove is that they claim Richard Allen said he was there between 1 and 3, but they coincidentally deleted the notes and the video or audio recording of that interaction. So, of course, we have to take their word for it. And remember what else they've deleted: more than 70 days of interview footage from all the most important 7 months of investigation and especially the first entire full week of investigation, all the interviews, the talks with Ron Logan, the talks with Brad Holder and the Kleins and all the other POIs, right? Yeah, they just coincidentally, accidentally recorded over and deleted all of that. Then they also made sure that they went and deleted and destroyed all of the Marathon gas station footage, which one of our POIs who has confessed multiple times claims, uh, who claims that he was in Delphi that day with his father, and all of this took place at their doing along with Ron Logan. Yeah, that's right. That guy, uh, the same guy who was searching this Marathon station, well, they go over to Marathon station and destroy all the stuff. And yeah, by the way, that just happens to be the brother of Brad Rozzi, in other words, this is the Indiana State Police brother of our lead defense attorney for Richard Allen at the trial, which is Brad Rozzi. You can't make this shit up. No, you can't. Okay. Allen shared all of his damn information. Of course, he says he saw 3 girls, not 4. Okay. He shared his address, his phone number, the identifying information off of his cell phone, which can be used to track the location of the phone. Where's the geofencing that was suppressed, by the way? Oh, that's a whole other question that no one wants to answer. Now, the corrupt lead investigators on this case immediately started investigating Richard Allen when they decided they had to win an election and could not lose control of this cover up to any kind of Mark Pinkert or FBI friendly individuals. Remember, they kicked the FBI off of this so that Keegan Klein in the Dropbox would not be tied to this entire crime. And if you're questioning that, you need to get the hell out of here because I know what I'm talking about. Okay. Now, they believe The man saw 4 girls, not 3. Yeah, they believed a lot of shit that wasn't true. Now keep in mind, as I've said on my little short I posted today, Alan lived in the same house, worked at the same CVS store as he did in 2017. Okay? For 5 years, he ain't do shit, right? He didn't destroy his phone. He didn't destroy the gun. He didn't get rid of this. Now, keep in mind, Ron Logan did, right? Ron Logan did. Okay, Keegan Kline did, right? Jerry Klein did. Everyone else did. But no, Richard Allen didn't. Richard Allen maintained his normal life. He kept all his belongings. He kept this clothing. He kept his knives. He kept his phones. He kept everything. When the police showed up at his house on October 13th, yeah, that's right. This is an occult connotation to everything these people do. They're all Freemason, keep in mind. Okay, so on October 13th, police showed up abruptly at his house. Allen agreed to talk with them. Of course, they convince him to ride to the police station. All right? Of course, he complies. He's cooperating. He has nothing to hide. He thinks he's helping them find the killers of a double murderer. Yeah. Or 2 little girls. After riding to the station, he patiently answered all the damn questions about his personal life and about the walk he took on that day 5.5 years earlier. As he explained, after spending the morning with his mother, he remembered going home to get a jacket before going to the trails. He remembers walking out to the first platform, looking at the fish, and walking back before returning home to watch the stock market on his computer, not his damn phone. Remember all that bullshit the troll farm used to run around and spread? Yeah. We talk about relevant information here, facts. He explained that he came forward after law enforcement asked to speak with anyone who had been there, anyone who might have information. The next day, a DNR officer, corrupt DNR officer, quote unquote, interviewed him in a parking lot. That's how they like to do it. Allen believed he told officer he was on the trail between noon and 1:30. That's not true. That's not true. He could only recall seeing 3 girls leaving the trail. Being 5 years had passed, he could not remember what car he drove or what clothes he wore. He remembered wearing blue jeans and a jacket, which is probably what he wears every damn day. Okay? I want to bring your attention here. In February 2017, Allen said he was on the bridge between maybe 1 and 3. Now look at this. Allen believed he told the officer he was on the trail between noon and 1:30. Little conundrum there, is it not? Of course, everyone ignores all of the red flags in this case. Well, I should say all of the bloodlusty guilt or demons. Okay, the meth head, chomo, child trafficking, pedophile enabling, mentally deficient inbred fucks of Central Indiana who bloodlust over this case and harass, stalk, dox us, send shit to our homes, call our law enforcement dozens of times on us to try to have us swatted. Yeah, those people, they won't ignore things like that and say it never happened, that obviously Allen's lying. Of course, because why would a DNR officer, a police officer, or unified command ever lie? Although we have just countless examples of their outright lies, deception, and omissions. That's what we're going to handle now. Okay. But of course, he couldn't remember what he drove. He couldn't remember what he wore. I would be reluctant to believe he could remember anything. How could you remember what you were doing on any day 5.5 years ago? Let me ask you guys right now. Let's see. Let's just say January 27th, 5 years ago. What would that be? 2021. Question, guys, in the chat. Okay, because I know you guys in the chat are keeping it real. You're keeping it 100. Guys in the chat, can you guys remember what you were doing on this particular day? I'm going to tell you the day right now. Ready? Sorry. Let me get an annoying sound effect going. Let's do a drum roll. January 27th, 2021. What were you doing? Tell me what you were doing, let's say between noon and 3 p.m. I'll wait. Oh, what were you wearing, by the way? What were you wearing? No, no, that's 5 years ago, and you could add 6 more months to that, make it 5.5 years, and see how accurate you could be. Of course, when asked what type of jacket, Alan didn't remember. Of course, I can't tell you what hoodie I was wearing last week. I mean, I would say one of the 15 that I own, sure. But Alan said uh, he didn't remember what he was wearing, but he listed all the ones he remembers owning, which was a blue Carhartt, a black Carhartt, or off-brand with a hood, sweatshirts, hoodies, and a fleece. He kept a skull cap in his jacket from time to time. He could have been wearing tennis shoes or boots. I don't know. Let me think of all the clothes I have. Okay? Now, funny thing about that jacket, well, we're going to get to later, but what we discovered subsequently is that Mrs. Allen went through her documentation, and the jacket itself was studied. And hey, bombshell for you: Richard Allen did not own that blue Carhartt jacket in 2017. It was purchased years later. But of course, the bloodlusty guilter, fucktard, inbred, I don't know, twacking demons will tell you, no, he was wearing a blue Carhartt. He owned a blue Carhartt. He is bridge guy. Therefore, he killed the girl. But we'll keep going. He killed the girls. When law enforcement asked for consent to search, Allen expressed concern that they were making him, quote unquote, somebody's fall guy, trying to fit puzzle pieces together that did not fit to close the damn case. Yeah, he was pretty spot on with that. He was confused, thinking they were uh, talking to him to look for helpful information. Although he understood they had to clear everyone on the trail, he was bothered by how many years had passed. After a break, law enforcement returned even more confrontational with Allen, who became frustrated with being accused of murder and law enforcement contacting his wife and daughter while he was at the station. Confronting Allen with the bridge guy photo, Allen responded, "If that's taken with those girls' phones, that's not me. I've never met those girls before." Of course, these lunatics in Unified Command who are covering up the murders of Abby and Libby, they accused Allen of admitting he wore the same clothes as Bridge Guy. And Allen corrected these idiots, these corrupt idiots, reminding them that he said he could have been wearing a sweatshirt. Allen added that everyone has looked at the Bridge Guy photo for years. To him, it didn't even look like Bridge Guy was wearing a Carhartt, which is a very, very pertinent observation. And I want to show that to you because I own a Carhartt or two. One thing you'll notice immediately looking at this jacket is not made of canvas. This looks like a nylon type of jacket. Okay, because Carhartts are heavy. Carhartt is very, very heavy. That's why people like them. They don't wrinkle as this jacket does. Okay, a normal Carhartt falls very flat on the chest. Why does it fall very flat? Because it's a very, very thick and heavy canvas type of material. If you look at this jacket this individual appears to be wearing, there's multiple folds. It looks lightweight. It looks like a lightweight nylon type of windbreaker jacket on top of heavier inner clothing, like maybe sweaters and the such. This ain't a Carhartt is the bottom line. This ain't a Carhartt, okay? Well, let's continue. I'm kind of getting sidetracked. Finally, when law enforcement accused him of either being out there to kill the girls or to introduce them to someone like Kagan Klein or Tony Klein or Ron Logan, Allen said, "Good luck finding anything that points to that." Well, despite Allen repeatedly telling law enforcement, "Arrest me or take me home," they would not stop. Just like they would not stop, or just like Holman would not stop with Kyle Fortson. Remember Robert Fortson, who shot himself in a very disturbing and violent and unbelievable fashion after repeatedly asking for counsel and continuously and repeatedly being pressed by Jerry Holman, bullied by Jerry Holman, pressured by Jerry Holman at the and ignoring uh, his request for counsel. Uh, Jerry Holman threatening him. He went home and shot himself in the head in his garage, ending his life. And just like that, Richard Allen repeatedly said, "Arrest me or take me home. I'm done here." But Holman would not stop. Allen eventually had to get up and walk out to end the interview. Now, the story Detective Leggett told the judge on October 13th, 2022, the state, I mean, Liggett and Unified Command, let's be honest, allegedly applied for a warrant for Allen's home, car, and electronics. Now, let's straighten you all out on this. We're going to get into this momentarily, but let me just let me let you in on this, okay? This is a whole lie. Okay, this is a whole lie. That probable cause affidavit was not authored in an hour or two while Richard Allen waited in his vehicle. Are you guys that fucking stupid? Listen, go look at that document. That document was uh, uh, arranged, okay? In other words, when they rolled up to Richard Allen's home on October 13th, that document had already been authored and was sitting waiting on the sidelines. Don't you all know that? That document was authored in the week before they showed up at his house. Okay, let's be real. That document was authored in the week before. Okay, it was meticulously put together. It took a lot of strategizing and etc. That document likely took 2 weeks to arrange in the weeks prior to knocking on Richard Allen's door. And what they did, they went in hoping to not have to utilize that document. They were hoping to get permission. Okay, but he denied that permission. So what happened is when they go in and when they talk to him and when they figure out that they're going to have to have a PCA arranged, what they do is say, "Oh, well, what else do we need to throw in there? Oh, yeah, he admitted he was wearing the same clothes. So let's throw that shit in there too." So they're able to go into that draft of that document. In other words, the PCA is already authored, like I said. They went into the draft. All they had to do was edit that draft by inserting a paragraph or two and whatever they needed to beef it up a little more, which at the time appears to be that he was wearing similar clothing. They stick that in there, right? They get it finalized. They hit print, send it to the judge. The judge signs it. Then they say, boom, we got it. Then they start the search. That's how that actually happened. So anyone believing that an entire PCA was drawn up in a matter of hours on the 13th of October, you're actually smoking crack. You're probably from Indiana. You know, you're probably a crackhead from Indiana who's inbred a little, got a little brain damage. The neurons don't fire right. Probably were abused in the growing up. Okay, that's how this works in Indiana. And all you bloodlusty demons, you believe that that's actually the way it played out. It means you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, because what actually happened is they had that PCA already drawn up the moment or the day before they decided to go show up at his door. Okay, so just make sure you're all straight on that. Okay. All right, let's continue. So, like I said, these appellate attorneys are going with the bullshit state's narrative for everything they're saying. It's absolute insanity. What they say is the state applied for a warrant on October 13th. In Detective Leggett's probable cause affidavit, he concluded that, well, I should say he falsely concluded that Allen is the last individual to have contact with Liberty and Abigail. Of course, there's no proof or evidence of that. That's all an assumption, a deception. And Allen is the individual depicted on the Monin High Bridge from the video taken from Liberty's phone. Another bold assumption, deception. Okay? He alleged, there was no reason, that Allen admitted he was wearing a blue jacket and head covering like Bridge Guy and was on the bridge or trail around the same time of the abduction. And witnesses, meaning the four girls who did not witness anyone resembling anything near Richard Allen. Remember, look, for you guys who are kind of stupid, remember, Richard Allen did not have gray hair in 2017. He did not have poofy hair in 2017. He was not tall and muscular and in all black in 2017. If anything, they would have described a short man, because any of you who've ever seen Richard Allen in person, and I know about 5 people who've stood within feet of him, they say, Prof, the first thing you would say to go and describe Richard Allen is he's a short, tiny little guy. Okay. Of course, Liggett deceived the judge and the entire world, okay, the entire general public. He implied that Blair and the girls saw the same man because they simply described a jacket. Now listen, that's not the way this worked, right? Because Blair described someone with poofy hair in his 20s who had beautiful eyes. The other girls described a giant ass dude who was older with gray hair mixed in with his dark colored hair. Salt and pepper is what we call it. Liggett concluded that Allen drove his black 2016 Ford Focus and parked at the old CPS lot. Of course, we know that's bullshit too, because when you listen to Allen described as to where he parked, it's nowhere near the CPS building. And we're going to get into that vehicle shortly, because there was a vehicle or two witnessed at that old CPS building, but it wasn't anything like Allen's vehicle. Detective Liggett concluded that Allen drove his 2016 Ford Focus parked at the CPS lot. He claimed that the witnesses, Blair and Wilson, saw a car backed into a parking spot. Of course, Wilson felt the driver was trying to conceal the license plate. He said the car was a purple fucking PT Cruiser, which is something a few individuals had, but it wasn't Richard Allen, right? Blair and Wilson drew a diagram, and the vehicle they saw parked in the same general area and manner, because as we all know, only one person can back into a parking spot. You can't have multiple people who park similarly. Of course, that never happens. Of course, the part of the story that Liggett did not tell the judge, meaning he lied, he concealed, he omitted from the judge to keep the judge from actually making a based decision. Blair's description of Bridge Guy did not match Allen whatsoever. Detective Liggett didn't tell the judge about the differences between Blair's descriptions of a man she saw on the bridge and Allen's appearance. Just 3 days after the murders, and after being within 50 to 75 feet of this man, Blair described a man as white, age 20, of medium build, and having brown curly hair. An artist completed a sketch, which Blair rated an absolute 10 out of 10 for accuracy. And there you can see that sketch resembling, drum roll please, exactly resembling Daniel Pearson, possibly resembling Garrett Kurtz or some other young man who we know that there were dozens of young people around the bridge that day. Of course, Liggett says it never happened. In 2019, Liggett personally interviewed Blair, who again described this man as slender, youthful, beautiful, boyish looking, in his 20s, maybe early 30s, absolutely no facial hair, with poofy, curly hair, just like the sketch portrayed, which she still gave in 2019 a 9 out of 10, which means 90 percentile of accuracy. 90th percentile. Does this look like Richard Allen to you? At the time of the murders, Richard Allen was 44 years old, okay, and had very short hair. Blair's description of the oddly parked car did not match Allen's car, and this is another red flag. Of course, nothing of Blair's matches anything of Allen's, which is the way you all should be saying it. Please don't say that someone resembles something. The correct way to state this is nothing of Blair's matches anything of Allen's. That's the way you go tell people out in the world. Detective Liggett omitted Blair's description of the oddly parked car. Of course, he completely omitted it, completely omitted the evidence she gave or the sketching and her uh, verbal description. She described it as a 1965 Ford Comet with sharper angles. And we've determined there's no Ford Comets, they're Mercury Comets. 1965 Comets do absolutely have sharper angles, very similar to her sketch. Below is her sketch of the car in yellow on the right. And as you see, this is Richard Allen's 2016 Ford Focus on the left. If you take a close look at the car on the right, look at that general profile sketched by Betsy Blair. It does absolutely resemble a 1965 Mercury Comet, which is a vehicle similar to a vehicle her father owned, which she would therefore very well know. Blair also said that this particular uh, sharp angled having 1965 Comet looking vehicle that was similar to a car her father owned was not black, but nondescript. Okay, not black. Now take a look at the photo. Does Richard Allen's vehicle appear to be black or not black? If you were to describe Richard Allen's vehicle, would you describe it as black or not black? Uh, Maybe I should ask it this way. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, if you were to describe Richard Allen's vehicle, would you ever describe it as not black? Question for you critical thinkers. Not black. Is that this? All right. Blair did not believe that the man she saw on the bridge was the same that Sarah Carba saw walking down the road. Detective Liggett intentionally omitted the fact that Blair told him the man Sarah Carba described walking down the road is not the same man she saw on the bridge. In other words, when Betsy Blair observed this sketch or this drawing here, she said, "That's absolutely not the person that I saw." Okay? Absolutely not the person that I saw. Now let's go back to the person she claimed she saw and just keep this in mind here because we're doing a little comparison contrast. She says 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10, this is exactly who I saw. Maybe 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, this is who I saw. Absolutely not who I saw. Okay, this is Betsy Blair. After talking with Betsy Blair in 2019, Indiana State Police, oddly enough, released a press release distinguishing the two men, distinguishing the man Carbaugh saw from the man on the bridge, explaining the men are not the same person and that Blair's sketch is representative of the face the person captured in the video. So let's be grown men here, or women and men. Sorry, ladies. Let me do a little something for you. Let's do, I'm going to do you a favor, a solid. I like doing my viewers solids here. So we'll do this right quick. Take me a moment. Let's get to it. Where did I put that thing? Got a few things to show you here. Take a look at this here. This is from Indiana State Police. It's a legitimate press release directly from the Indiana State Police Multi-Agency Task Force. As you see, it was released on April 24th, 2019. It says Multi-Agency Task Force clarifies points about the Delphi murder suspect sketches for immediate release. Multi-Agency Task Force clarifies points. In the early days and months of the Delphi murders investigation, information was developed about a suspect description. It was initially believed the sketch that has been public for the last 2 years of a person in the age range of 40s to 50s. Remember, that means this one. Okay, this one. It was believed that this person was a person of interest. Now, as the investigation has quote unquote matured and past information has quote unquote been reassessed, it is the quote unquote belief of investigators with the multi agency task force that the person depicted in the sketch released on April 22nd more accurately represents the person wanted for the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. Let's take a look at that sketch again. That's right, this one. Furthermore, it is important to distinguish these points about the two sketches. Now, pay attention close here, especially for those in the back who are from Indiana who smoke meth, traffic the children, have cousins they are sexually active with, and all of the above. Okay, you guys, the troll farm, bloodlusting, methed out demons, crack smoking trolls. It's important to distinguish this about the two sketches from ISP. They are not the same person. Yes, that word underline is not. The person depicted in the originally released Old Guy sketch is not presently a person of interest. The sketch released on April 22nd, the Young Guy sketch, is representative of the face of the person captured in the video. How odd is that, right? In the video is the face of the person captured. Again, let's look at that face. This is supposed to be the face in the video? How bizarre. How bizarre is that? This is the face in the video? Don't make sense. This is the face of the person captured in the video on Liberty German's cell phone as he was walking on the high bridge. The person in the sketch released April 22nd is described as having a youthful appearance, but could fall in the age range from 20s to late 30s. Does that say 40s or 50s? The person's appearance could look different from today if he has grown a mustache, a beard, or let his hair grow longer, or cut his hair shorter than depicted in the sketch. Let me do you another little solid. I got a couple other goodies up my sleeve here. Let's see. It's going to take me a moment because, I'm not the best at preparing. Like I said, I run late. Let me show you guys a few things. First of all, there's this. There's this. Let's see. We know this guy was there. Okay, this is Daniel Pearson. We know Daniel Pearson was there at around the time, right? Take a close look at the eyes, nose, and mouth. Okay, firstly. Take a look at the stare or the way that the eyes set behind the brow. Secondly, look at the hair. Now I got even one a little better for you. A little better. Sorry about this. I'm all over the place here. This is rando. This is schizo right now. Just bringing up possibilities because this is all such a conundrum. Who does this look like? Hey, Noe. Is Noe here? Noe. Who does this look like, Ramos? I know who it looks like to me. All right, let me continue. Sarah Carbaugh said, the man walking down the road was wearing a tan damn coat. Detective Liggett also made false statements in the affidavit. That's right, false statement. That means lies. Let me interpret it for the meth head, twacked out rednecks of Central Indiana. Lies. False. What is a false statement? Is that a lie or not? What is a lie? Is a lie a false statement? Is a false statement a lie? Detective Liggett also lied in the affidavit. He claimed that an interview was done of Sarah Carbaugh, and she stated she saw a man wearing a blue-colored coat and was muddy and bloody. Sarah Carbaugh did not describe the man as bloody, only muddy. She said he was wearing a tan jacket. Allen never said he was wearing a blue Carhartt, and his wife said Allen purchased his current Carhartt a couple years ago. Detective Liggett falsely stated Allen said he was wearing a blue or black Carhartt with a hood and head covering. In fact, Allen told investigators he did not know what he was wearing. It could have been anything from a Carhartt to a sweatshirt, and that he kept a small skull cap in his jacket. Although Allen's wife said he had a blue Carhartt in 2022, drum roll, Liggett left that out and left out that he said that she said and proved that Allen purchased that coat a couple years before 22. Okay, she proved it. The girls were killed in 2017. Warrant. The trial court, of course, naturally not unexpectedly issued the warrant. Law enforcement seized from Allen's home multiple items, including a Sig Sauer gun, some knives, some casings, and the Carhartt type jacket with a white and yellow patch on the front that Kathy purchased in approximately, 2020 or so. These items featured prominently during Allen's trial. Yeah, they were used. Remember, I always say the deck was stacked. The deck was stacked against him because this was a railroading. Now, Allen denies the bullet is his. He denies he was bridge guy, and he denies he had anything to do with the murders. At the scene, officers found allegedly an unspent, unfired 40 caliber Smith & Wesson cartridge near Liberty's right ankle. When ISP analyst Melissa Oberg cycled the 6 cartridges through Allen's gun, she did not find any marks. That's right. So this round was only cycled, never fired. When she repeated that action, she did not find any marks that could match the marks on the cycled round that she would cycle to the one found at the scene. She could not match them. Thus, she could not establish a link between Allen's gun and the unspent round that was found at the scene. But she had the great wise idea to fire cartridges through Allen's gun. She then compared those markings on these fired or spent cartridges to the markings on this unspent ejected round that was at the scene, and just ridiculously concluded that Allen's gun was the source of some of the markings on the unspent cartridge at the murder scene. You cannot make a bit of this up. Of course, with this in hand, these idiot, corrupt law enforcement officers from Unified Command interrogated Allen again. For about an hour and a half, Detective Holman accused Allen of killing Abby and Libby over and over and over and over. Allen explained the very day police asked anyone on the trail to come forward, this is what he did. I went for a walk on the trail, went home. I did not murder two little girls. Holman repeatedly confronted him and screamed and yelled at him like a wild fucking gorilla and said, this is science. This is experts. These are science. This is bullets. This is ballistic science. This is proof you killed those girls repeatedly. He confronted him with Oberg's inaccurate conclusion on the marks and casing and saying, it matches your gun, it matches the gun. Each time Allen denied the bullet was from his gun. Holman claimed that the methodology was scientific and like fingerprints. Of course, exhausted and frustrated by Holman's relentless accusations and screaming and yelling and bullying, like stomping around like a wild fucking silverback gorilla, and all of these accusations that he murdered two little girls. Of course, he told him he couldn't happen because he doesn't know how am I supposed to answer that. He did not know how the round got between the girls or how they died. He said, I did not murder two little girls. Despite Holman's lying straight up. Oh, you notice a pattern here? Wait, didn't Liggett lie? Didn't Liggett lie in that PCA? Yes, he did. That's called making false statements, lying. Despite Holman repeatedly lying about experts identifying Allen and his voice on the video, Allen continued to deny. Holman tried a different lie, saying 5 witnesses saw him with Libby and Abby. That's right. He said 5 witnesses saw you with Libby and Abby and a gun. Again, Allen said, it did not happen. I don't care how stressed out I get. I'm not going to admit something I had nothing to do with. And furthermore, Allen continued. He even used his depression against him, claiming it was because of his depression that he killed these 2 little girls. He even used his wife as a weapon against him, or a tool of interrogation. While Allen was being interrogated, ISP told her that the bullet at the scene matched her husband's gun definitively. When they brought her in, well, they also told her by the way, we know what they told her. Okay, let's be honest here. They told her sexual things when they pulled her aside. Okay, they brought up some sexual things, made her feel real shitty and uncomfortable, and lied to her about the evidence against her husband. They did a whole 9 yards of Kathy Allen. Then they drug her back in to see Rick. Well, he hugged her and said, it's going to be all right. Then they baited him by leaving him together in the room with the recording running, because that's how they do shit. You know, that's a trap. It's just like the phone calls in Westville. This is all a trap. It's a system set up to entrap individuals. She asked how this bullet got at the scene and repeated what she was told. He said, I'm not going to say something I did not do, and I can't explain something I don't understand, which is an absolutely understandable statement to make. That would be logical, that you'd expect someone in this situation to say, how am I supposed to explain what I don't understand? I know that no bullet from my gun was connected with the murder in any way, shape, or form, he said. Of course, the Indiana State Police lied to Kathy Allen, telling her that witnesses or a witness identified Rick at the trails. That was a lie. Allen assured her they're not going to get away with this and told her, I'm sorry you're having to hurt. I'm so sorry I'm having to go through it. Just a few days after 50-year-old Allen was arrested. Wait, something happened here? Yeah, that was it. Okay, that was it. I didn't mean to go on because we did that part. So let's go back. This is October 13th. Again, we've covered this previously. We're going to go back over it. Matter of fact, that might be time for chocolate to get my fuel up. Um, this is October 13th, okay? Transcribed. I want to show you this because a thought occurred to me. A thought occurred to me the other day that there's a typo here. And I'm not sure if there is because, of course, we don't have this footage, but we need it. Everybody out there, could you all do me a favor? FOIA this, please. FOIA this footage. Someone FOIA this footage. Let's fact check this transcription. Because look at this. You see here, October 13th, arrival at 1967 Whiteman Drive, right? Where you have Steve Mullen, Tony Liggett. Now look at this. Okay. In other words, we're here. Okay. Let's go. We'll get started. Mum's the word in case he's got cameras, is what Tony Liggett says. Mum's so they pull up. Okay. Mum's the word in case he got cameras. Okay. You might think it's a good thing to stay here. I could come back and get it. Okay. And I thought, you know what? I think that's a typo. I think line number 8 should say, come back and get him. Come back and get him. Get him. Get him. Him. So what I'm saying here, imagine this scenario. These two cops, Liggett and Mullins, they're pulling up. They're going to try to get permission to search his house because they don't want to give up this PCA that they've authored for the 2 weeks before, like I said. They don't want him to be real-time monitoring the cameras, and they don't want him to hear any of the chatter outside the door. So when they pull up, Liggett says, "Mum's the word in case he's got cameras." And Mullen says, "Okay." Then he says, he might think it's a good thing to stay here. In other words, he might not want to come with us voluntarily to go be interrogated, right? He might not want to come here voluntarily. He might not want to come with us to the station or the interview room to be interrogated. He might think it's a good thing to stay here at home. I can come back and get him. That's what I think is being said here. I can come back and get him. In other words, I'll arrest him. So I think that the intention here, in other words, what I'm getting at, think about this. What do cops want to do in these instances? They want to do the least possible action on their part, right? They want everything to be compliance. They want everything to be voluntary. Okay. So they never wanted to have to apply for a search warrant. They wanted the permission, right? They never wanted to arrest him to get him interviewed or interrogated, right? They wanted him to voluntarily come in for the interviews. So that's what I'm getting at is when I'm looking at this sets the ball rolling and I'm thinking, you know what? They were hoping for the best. So they were hoping for full compliance, that he would comply with the search warrant. He would comply with coming on in for questioning. But their backup plan was that if he fails to comply, what we're going to do is we're going to come with the search warrant and serve it anyway. And we're going to come with an arrest warrant. You know, so first of all, if they had to come, they would come, search warrant, arrest warrant, search warrant, arrest warrant. That's how far they were willing to go, but they were hoping to not have to. And I think this is what's indicated by these lines 1 through 9 here. Mom's the word in case he's got cameras. He might think it's a good idea, a good thing to stay here. I can come back and get him. Don't worry. All right. So we've gone through this before. I'm not going to go through it extensively, but I want to get to some points, okay? So they bring him down to the station. We're going to get to that. There's a bunch of small talk. He says, now, initially you talked to Dan Doolin. You said you were there between 1:30 and 3:30, and that you parked at the old Farm Bureau building. And while at Freedom Bridge, you saw three females. One was taller, had black or brown hair, was long. We got some information about your phone or something. Okay, great. So let me understand everything. I want to make sure that we kind of get some information from you. They get his information. So he says, I'm Army National Guard, E5, Sergeant. I lived in Mexico most of my life. Mexico. It was Mexico, but it was Peru where I was in the National Guard. Okay. But he says he's got a couple stints and some psychological issues. I worked in Peru at CBS, and then I came to Delphi in 16, 17, 16. Been there a while now. He says, I was actually a store manager at one point with Walmart, chose to leave the company and do something different. Interviewed with CBS, and Peru was the district manager that I interviewed with. Peru was the furthest Western store that he had or closest to me. So that's where I was going to be working. And it just didn't work the way I thought it was long term. I mean, I was there several years, but they had a training position, a managerial training position. I told them I didn't want to do that anymore. Long story short, I did a transfer back. Like I said, 16, I'm going to say around 16, 17 in there. Um, just tired of the bureaucracy, just not really being about taking care of the customer. It's more of a thing about hitting this number on the spreadsheet and that number on the spreadsheet, and you're getting call every 15 minutes if you didn't hit this number on the spreadsheet, and none of them really help you take better care of the customer. I mean, you're spending your time managing scorecards, and I had enough of it. I was tired of it. Okay, so what was going on Monday, February 13th? I went over to my mom's in Peru, Mexico earlier in the day. I think my mom had hip surgery, but regardless, my wife was working. So I went over there, spend the day. I spent the morning with them. My sisters come over and they were going to eat lunch and stuff. So I went home. I remember it was a fairly warm day, or warmer than normal. So I just put a jacket on, went back to the trails. Usually when we go walk down High Bridge and walk back, walk down the other side and come back. I mean, it wasn't a ritual, but I remember walking down to the bridge. I left my mom's probably around 11, 11:15. So I think I would have been out there because I didn't do anything else. I would have been around there around noon, I thought is when I was out there. Walked down the High Bridge, went out just a little ways, not all the way, went out a little ways and watched the fish to see if I seen any fish down there because I like fishing. And I walked back. When you go around and go down the other fork, there's a bench that overlooks and sits there for a few minutes. And I walked down, walked back and out and left. Okay. Where would you have parked your car? The big parking lot wasn't there at the time. Which one? Like where the bridge is. I don't think it was there. So if you went over behind, there's a back road. And if you went up, there was a bridge, not the main bridge. There was a smaller bridge where you could park there, or you could walk over on the other side. And I remember I didn't park over there where it's a farmer's entrance or something. I remember I didn't park there because I had told him something about where there were a couple vehicles there when I left. So I parked either on the bridge side, or there used to be a little building there. I could have parked there. There was a trail until they got the whole thing done. Okay? So when you're walking, you're talking about the big blue bridge, that Freedom Bridge that goes over the highway. Well, that's the big blue bridge, but before that, there was, if you're going out of town, you would take the road, I think is where the park is. It veers off. There's a Y. There's a road off the first road you come to. I don't think it's the first road, but there's a road that takes off to the right, and there's houses, and it just kind of turns into a lane, and there's a small bridge up there. I mean, I think it's still there. So you guys recall, we've already been down this road. I mean, everyone who's sane, you all know what bridge he's talking about, right? Is that little footbridge, right? You guys do understand that he didn't park at the CPS. He's not describing the CPS. The CPS is not a bridge. He's describing this little footbridge that goes over the road where he parked over way on the other side. You know, in other words, you got to cross over the Blue Bridge, Freedom Bridge. Then you got to cross over that little footbridge. Then you go down to the parking lot where there used to be a building and a little parking down there. Right? So that's what they just described. Of course, like I said, this is all lies. So for this fantasy world fictional narrative scenario, you got to believe that he parked at the CPS lot, which is complete opposite of reality. And honestly, I've said this so many times before. Now, look, don't go give Delphi your money. All right? So, in other words, when you go to Delphi, don't go shopping. Don't go spread no money in the economy. Don't go to a restaurant. Don't go do nothing in Delphi to send your tourist dollars to Delphi. But listen, a lot of you need to go out to that trail for your own edification. Here's a reason. You need to understand the layout on foot and how the whole place lays. You can never see it or understand it from Google or from Google Maps or from fucking YouTube or Chat GPT. You're never going to understand the layout until you're walking that entire area. Okay? So you need to go out there, don't spend any money, but go out there and walk and figure out what's going on. That way, when you're listening to descriptions like this, it all makes sense because you've really been there and experienced how someone experiencing it would describe it. And that's why they're counting on the public not going out there and the public not understanding it. Because in order for you to believe any of this PCA, any of the state's narrative, any of the Gray Hughes narrative, any of the Monica Walla narrative, any of the bloodlust or demon narrative, in order to believe any of this, you actually not have to know what you're talking about. You know, because as soon as you plant feet out there and get to know the lay of the land and get to know how wide open it is and how things lay out, you'll never believe this bullshit narrative. It's all hypothetical, and it's all like forced to fit. It's the the square peg in the round hole, or it's the forcing of puzzle pieces together. See? Anyhow, it's really striking me that that he clearly describes where he parked. And not only do they not listen, but they lie about it later, and they say he said he parked at CPS. All right. Okay. So they confuse him with a map. Okay, they show him a map. It confuses him. You know, they throw a map in his face, and honestly, I think that with the stress of the moment, what I see on the video It's almost like he's disoriented and like he's not good at maps. So to me, all of the map looking is irrelevant. He's confused. What's relevant is his description of it because it matches exactly what we know we're talking about. All right. So we're going to move through this and get to some other stuff, okay? He talks about talking to Dan Dulin, you know, and he says, we talked, he looked at my phone, he took my phone's information, he took the battery out and got the information off of it. That was pretty much it. It's been years. Like I thought about it a lot, and as time goes on, I think I was there around noon. It could have been there a little before noon or a little after noon. Walked down and back about an hour, probably 1:30, 1:45, depending. I just remember walking down the trail, and I told him that when I was approaching the trail, the trailhead, there was three girls walking off the trail. And I just remember it looking like one of them was probably watching, not babysitting, but watching the other two because they looked a little younger and they looked very similar. I don't know if they were sisters or whatever, but the other one didn't necessarily. I remember see them walking off the trailhead and I didn't really see anybody. Like I said, I look at the water. I mean, I sat, somebody could have walked behind me, I guess, but I sit on the bench that overlooks the creek bed and all that. And I remember uh, when I left, I remember there being two vehicles down there on that farmer's entrance. Okay, two vehicles at the farmer's entrance. Who is that? That's the Mears lot. That's the Mears lot. So let's say about 1:30, 1:45, maybe even 2. Let's say between 1:30 and 2. Who are the two vehicles at the Mears lot? All right. I'm going to skip ahead some crap, okay? I'm going to skip. Uh-huh. And they're still going on about the where he parked, but he's already told them where he parked very clearly. All right, so let's see. And it's not the CPS building. All right, so now he says, my point is, I was driving the black car, and when I transferred, I come to Delphi. I didn't need gas mileage anymore. It was a nicer car, so I gave it to my wife. I drove the gray car, and she drove the black car. Now, if I was going somewhere out of town, you know, a lot of times I would use the black car. The gray car was dependable, but it's just one of those where the longer, I guess, the more recently I started driving, you know, I was going to Lafayette or something. I take the black car just because it's more dependable. All right. I drove the gray 4500. She would drive the black car. Had her old cat license plate on it. I got her a van. The red car pretty much had it, and it was either I had that or and the truck as well. I had a truck for I don't know 3 or 4 years. I bought it used, and we didn't drive it hardly ever. And it was one of those where we get rid of them while they're still worth something. So we traded them both in and got the van that she drives now. And then I went back to driving the black car. Would you have planned to drive the black car because that was a trip out of town during that time, it was still, the gray car was still like, it was not like it's junk, but uh, it was a 2006. But I just say in the last, 3 or 4 years, it's not that the car didn't run well. It's just one of those where it's old enough that, you don't want to get over somewhere, especially because if I'm driving it because she's at work and I don't want to end up having or getting stranded somewhere. That's why I don't know which. It was either the gray or the black car. Could have been the black one. It could have been the gray one. Okay. Now he says, I remember it was like an older girl with two younger girls. And I guess I just assumed she was probably watching them or in charge of them. You know, I don't really remember seeing anybody. If I did see somebody else, they didn't jump out at me, and it could have been people down around the cars, but I don't remember. I just remember seeing a couple cars parked over there at the Mears lot. Um, like a sedan and an SUV, a sedan and an SUV. Who's the sedan and SUV? Let's take Rick's version of it. Okay, if it's between 1:30 and 2, who's in the sedan and SUV over at Mears lot? Got it? Okay. I went home that day to watch the stock market, he says. Okay. So we're going to fast forward a bit. They're asking about clothes and all this stuff. And let me find where I'm looking for. Okay. They start getting a little crazy with them right in here. Uh, starts to escalate. Let's see. I don't want to be associated with this thing, obviously, more than anybody else does. And am I an angel of a person? No. I mean, I'm like anybody else. I don't want you looking at every website I visited. So I think I'll talk to my wife, and if she's cool with it, um, and he says, Detective Tony Liggett leaves, right? And then they get into, he comes back, and they say, Tony Liggett says, I don't want you to think that we're just randomly coming after you. Okay? He says, I know I wasn't out there that late. Between 1:30 and 3:30, I know I wasn't out there that late. I don't know what I told him that day, but I know I wasn't out there till 3:30 or so. 1:30 would have been more of a time that I would have left. The only reason I remember is because I know I left around 11 o'clock or so because they were getting ready to go do lunch. And I wasn't going to go do the lunch thing with everybody. So here's another question for actual fucking investigators. Are you telling me that you cannot pull up all the ring camera footage, all of the CCTV footage in a 5 mile radius? You can't figure when Rick Allen left his mother's house? Hmm? Are you telling me the FBI, the state police of Indiana, the sheriff's office of Carroll County, and the police department of Delphi, you're telling me all of these entities, a multi-agency task force, cannot go and collect all the footage possible and determine when Rick Allen left his mother's house, where he passed on the way to Delphi, when he arrived in the area of the trails, when he might have arrived anywhere near on that other side of the highway. You're meaning to tell me there's not enough footage from the entire, you know, I don't know, 20-mile radius to actually find out what cameras he passed? You can't go and track his path from his mother's house? You didn't collect. Are you telling me that the Unified Command, the Multi Agency Task Force, and the FBI did not collect 1,000 pieces of footage from the entire 10-mile radius of Delphi or 5-mile radius of the trails or something? Are you telling me that never happened? Wouldn't that be the first thing? You find two little girls brutally slaughtered like these girls were in such a horrific way. You're telling me that the authorities are not going to go out and seek all that camera footage on every access in and every access out of that area? Is there not highway camera footage? Is there not, are there not businesses? You don't know who you're going to catch coming in and out of the area. And you mean to tell me that the FBI, the Multi-Agency Task Force, Unified Command, all the locals, they wouldn't go out and start getting all that footage and just putting it in a database just in case? Just in case it might come in handy someday? You know, most people are going to delete that within a week or two. So why not in the first 24, 48 hours? Why not put out a canvas and go get all that footage within a 5-mile radius or something? You could start piecing together vehicles passing and figure out who came in, who came out of that area. Sorry, getting distracted. All right. Um, we're here because you haven't found the guy that did this, and I'm not going to turn into that guy. I don't want to become the target of something because, like I said, we watch Dateline every week. We watch everything. It's just one of those. I mean, there's nothing that's going to tie me, and I'm not worried about that. To have people come and start searching my house and stuff, I mean, my wife doesn't even know I'm here talking to people. I mean, I can look for the phone. I'll talk to her. And I mean, obviously, anytime you feel you need that information quicker, I know you can get it. It's not like you can't get it if you want it. I'm not a fucking idiot. Good job, Rick. And he's starting to get upset, obviously, you know. He said, if I thought I had something was useful, by all means, I'd give you anything I had. I just don't know what's going to be useful to you. What kind of guilty person says that? If this is a bloodthirsty, unhinged sexual predator, demon, a predator like Sleuth Intuition wants you to believe, what kind of unhinged sexual predator, monster maniac is going to talk like that? If I thought I had something that was useful, I'd give you anything I had. I just don't know what's going to be useful to you. All right. Okay. So he says, this is out of left field, guys. I mean, I'm going to talk to my wife before I do anything. This affects her as much as it affects me. And I know you guys don't talk to people. I don't hear a bunch of rumors out there, but I mean, I don't want anybody knowing that I talk to you guys. You know? So they're trying to pressure him into agreeing to the search, right? Um, he says, "Look, there's a lot. This is Mullen. There's a lot we need to get clarified. We have pictures of an individual that was on the bridge, and to some degree, you've described that individual as wearing yourself as wearing the blue jeans, a jacket, same color. It described a hat. It's hard to see these shoes, but they're kind of brown, okay? And it's a picture that was taken with the phone of one of the girls, okay? If it was taken with the girl's phone, this is absolutely not. I mean, it's not me, but I've never met these girls before. So even if I thought it looked like me, if it was taken with the girl's phone, there's no way it could be. I never met them. And he says, let's just stop here. Of course, they don't stop. He says, I've been dealing with this depression for years. It's not something new. It's not something because I went out and killed girls. Now I've got psychological problems. I've had issues. Did I stick a gun? I know how a gun works, and I wasn't going to shoot myself that night. I was probably a cry for help that night. You're obviously talked to my wife, so it is what it is. But you know, you haven't talked to anybody that knows me. It's been around me, my family, not my family that thinks that I may have been involved in this. And then he keeps going. He says, Tony Liggett's like, yeah, but we got this image. He's wearing a Carhartt jacket, just like you told us. He's wearing the same clothing as you. That's all they got. You see what I mean? You have blue jeans. He said, I said I was probably wearing a black or blue coat. It could have been a Carhartt to zip up with a hoodie. I've had black ones. I've had a blue one or a black one. Like, I guess you know what I told you I was wearing, and saying that's me. You literally want me to be like, you want me to say that's my car. Um, so you see where they're starting to try to slide it. They're like shoehorning him in to this thing, right? So anyway, this is what I want to do. Uh, Towards the end, they bring him. They get him out of the building, right? Let me show you. So they get him out of the building, right? And then, of course, Vito is like a hungry wolf. He's waiting there, and Mullen runs back into the building. See, he runs back into the building. He said, and Vito says, "Did you get anything? You got anything?" And Mullen says, "Just he was wearing the same clothes. He's wearing the same clothes." And Vito says, "I don't want him to go back to his house. I don't mean to arrest him, but," and it cuts off. So why does it cut off there? Why does it abruptly cut there? Where's the footage? Can we FOIA the footage? I don't mean to arrest him, but I mean cuts. Suddenly we're back outside the door. Okay? So there's more. What happened to my more? Oh, I see. Just give me a moment. All right, thank you guys. I have my little chocolate energy fix. All right, so next up, I want to talk about some things here. What is the fruit of the poisonous tree? Fruit of the poisonous tree. is a legal doctrine that excludes evidence in a criminal trial if it was derived from an unconstitutional search, seizure, or interrogation. If the initial evidence, which we would call the tree, is tainted, any further evidence, which is the fruit discovered through this tree, is generally inadmissible based on the principle that evidence from illegal actions must be suppressed. Okay, and the purpose of this is to deter law enforcement from violating constitutional rights, such as the Fourth Amendment, uh, by ensuring illegally obtained evidence cannot be used to build a case. Okay? Now, fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine extends the exclusionary rule to make evidence inadmissible in court if it was derived from evidence illegally obtained. As I said, as the metaphor suggests, if an evidentiary tree is tainted, so is its fruit. This doctrine was established in 1920 by the decision in Silverthorne Lumber versus U.S., and the phrase fruit of the poisonous tree was coined by Justice Frankfurter in 1939. Okay? Like the exclusionary rule itself, this doctrine is subject to three important exceptions. Evidence will not be excluded if it was discovered from a source independent of the illegal activity, if its discovery was inevitable, or if the evidence found as a result of excludable voluntary testimony from the defendant. Okay? So, apparently, this is how the good old boys of Carroll County run their law enforcement. And this appears to be how they do everything. Remember, I've repeatedly mentioned how Judge Diener authored the safekeeping order, which remember how important this point is, and people forget. The safekeeping order is the one that handed over Richard Allen to Westville or hell or Guantanamo Bay, Indiana, right? The safekeeping order is what put Richard Allen in hell, where confessions could be coerced out of him. He could be tortured and abused. Remember that Judge Diener authored the safekeeping order for or request for Sheriff or for Tobe Lesenby, right? So Judge Diener authors it or writes it for Tobe. Tobe gets it, prints it out, brings it right back to Diener, and he approves it. He signs it. He issues an order. And then he recuses himself. See, this is how they do things in the good old boy corrupt system of Central Indiana. And this particular appellate issue that we're referencing here is the fruit of the poisonous tree. I mean, I want you to understand why this is so important in this appeal. So let me bring it back. Let's see if I can manage to not fail. Okay, you see? You have three issues, as I've said. And number one issue, the issue we're covering tonight, is the fruit of the poisonous tree, or whether the search of Allen's home was unconstitutional. And the resulting evidence, the fruit, being inadmissible because law enforcement omitted and altered key facts in the warrant application. And remember, that's Tony Liggett omitting, altering, and lying about the investigation up until that point, which means that that particular search warrant was illegal or unconstitutional. Remember back to this Cornell University description, it says, it extends the exclusionary rule to make evidence inadmissible in court if it was derived from evidence illegally obtained. Okay? The rule typically even bars testimonial evidence resulting from excludable evidence, such as a confession. And that's what we're looking at. Now, I'm going to bring something up next to talk about, but I'm not going to show you because you don't need to see everything. I mean, let me grab this. So, what they do is on October 26th, as you all know, they talk to Rick again, or I would say they interrogate Rick again. Okay. And this time it's Holman, and he starts off with small talk, blah 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 blah, and he's trying to bait information about a gun, okay, out of Rick. But what I want to say, I want to quote from you. Okay, we're going to quote Jerry Holman. We're going to quote Jerry Holman right here. Jerry Holman says, "We've been working on this for a long time. We've been working on this a long time. And all the evidence is clearly indicating that you're involved in this, right? You say you're out there. We have witnesses out there. We have your vehicle. We have experts. We have experts that say that's you on the video and that's your voice in the video." Question for all of you out there: is that true? Is it true that they have experts that say it's Rick on the video? Is it true that they have experts that say it's Rick's voice on the video? We have your round at the scene. It's scientifical. He says he says it's scientifical. Jerry Holman knows big words. He says it's scientifical that we it's it's scientifical that we have your round at the scene. Oh man, can't make this shit up. How did it get there, Rick? How did it get there? I don't know how the round got there, Rick says. What I'm telling you, it's not my round. The scientifical experts are saying it. I got a report saying that that round came from your gun. I got the prosecutor and investigators ready to lock you up if you don't give us a narrative, if you don't tell us your side. There's two sides to every story. This is the attempt to get him to snitch on himself. You know what that is. You know, there's two. Tell us your side. In other words, confess to the crime so we can still lock you up regardless. This is why you never talk to the police. Okay, what have we all learned here as a community? We don't talk to police. And then Holman pulls a gull. Now, what do I mean by that? Holman pulls a gull. He says, the media, listen to this, At the 8 minute and 43-second mark, Jerry Holman says the media is going to portray you as a monster. And you don't want your wife and daughter to hear that, right? The media is going to portray you as a monster. No, the troll farm bloodlusty demons are going to portray you as a monster. So here's your chance to tell us exactly what happened. And Rick says, unlike some people, I care what people think about me. And Jerry says, but there's only one way to get out in front of it, and that's to tell the truth. Tell the truth. Get out in front of it. What happened that day? Tell us. Rick says, I can't tell you what happened that day. Jerry Holman says, there's no doubt in my mind that the evidence clearly indicates that you were involved in this. Are you the mastermind behind this? I don't know. Did someone else set this up? Yeah, Keegan Kline and Tony Klein. The truth will set you free. And then he goes to the bullet and he says, tell me how this round got next to one of our dead girls. Rick says, do you realize what you've done to me? Like, you've talked to people I work with. You've talked to my neighbors. I've got anxiety. I've got all kind of stress and depression. And one thing is, you cannot even think something about me. But if you think something about me, it bothers me. And it's already done because people out there already know that you think I did something. And Holman says, the evidence clearly indicates that you're involved. So if you're in my seat and I had you saying out there, witnesses saying you're out there and at the same time with the girls, and now witnesses saying he's out there with the girls. What? And after a search warrant, we find your gun. When did you buy it? I don't know, 2001? I'd have to check. Jerry Holman says, that's okay, I'll check for you. You bought it in 2001 in Peru. And I've asked you, have you ever loaned out? I gave you scenarios. So that's your gun. Either you had that gun or somebody had that gun, because there's no way your round gets on that property where these two girls are killed without that gun being there. And that's your car there. Witnesses say. Is that true? Did witnesses say there's a 2016 black Ford Focus? Or did the witness say, one say there's a purple PT Cruiser or something, and the other witness says there's a not black 1965 Mercury Comet? You know what I mean? It's insanity here. And he says, Rick says, there's no way around for my gun was anywhere near the girls. It didn't happen. And Holman says, we're trying to help you. Rick says, no, you're accusing me of murdering two little girls. Okay. And it goes on and on and on. And Rick says, I figure you're going to arrest me. You obviously think I've done it. The damage is done. Go ahead and do what you're going to do. Okay, so basically Rick's saying arrest me, right? Arrest me, motherfucker. And Jerry Holman says, I don't think you're the one that killed them. I don't think you're the one that stuck the knife in them. What the fuck kind of human being? We're talking about Abby and Libby. Stuck the knife in them. Oh, Jerry, so you don't think that Rick killed them, but you go to trial and everyone in your agency says that they do think he's the one that killed them? Do you see how this goes, ladies and gentlemen? Rick says, I don't understand. All I'm telling you is that there's no way around for my gun ended up next to a murder scene. I'm telling you, if it was next to a murder site or anywhere near it, it didn't come out of my gun. And I don't know where you would have gotten that one that did come out of my gun. And Holman says, well, you know, the severity of this. You realize the death penalty is on the table for this? And Rick says, you know what? I don't care about living at this point. I've dealt with not wanting to live for 7 or 8 years now. It's been a long effing battle. And so what you guys have done to me, kill me. I don't give a F if you'll make my wife rich. And he says, is that what she wants? Is that what your daughter wants? And Rick says, they don't want any of this to even be happening. And Jerry Holman says, experts are saying you said down the hill to the girls. Which experts? Which experts said Rick is saying down the hill? Because all I remember is hearing Brian Harshman say that in his expert opinion, although he's not an expert, he says in his opinion, it's Rick saying down the hill. There's no expert saying Rick said down the hill. The experts are all saying this. The evidence indicates you were out there. The witnesses saw you. The witnesses saw you. You didn't see anybody else on the bridge. Uh, there was a girl that walked up, a lady that walked up and saw you on the platform, Rick. And right after these two girls, they end up dead minutes later. You're the last person to have contact with Abby and Libby. Your weapon, your gun. Rick says, I've never contacted Abby and Libby. I've never even met them. So they go on, and we're going to go to a little later. He says the girls have video of you. Experts are saying without a doubt that is you on the bridge. Really? Really? Experts are saying without a doubt that is you on the bridge. Who are those experts? Indiana State Police? That is your voice. Yeah, who is that expert, Indiana State Police? How they do it, I don't know. I'm not an expert. We have 5 witnesses that see you out there on the bridge with the girls. They don't see that, says Rick, because it didn't happen. And Jerry Holman says, I'm not lying to you. And Rick says, what I'm telling you is they didn't see me anywhere near those girls or anybody else because I wasn't around anybody that day. I'm done answering. I know you're trying to get me to trick me into saying. I don't care how stressed out I get. I'm not going to fucking admit to something I had nothing to do with. So you see what I mean? How this is going? And guys, this goes on and on and on. It goes on and on. Okay, it goes on and on. And all of you have seen this. This is all out there for you to see. You know, I'm basically trying to show you what is leading up to the moment of arrest here, is what I'm showing you. Okay. So it's lies and lies and pressure and pressure and lies and lies and pressure and pressure. And Rick, the whole time, is saying, no, you didn't see me. No, they didn't see me. No, it's not me. There's no way it's me. It's not my gun. He's continuously saying, it's not me. It's like, just kill me. Just arrest me. Whatever you're going to do, it doesn't matter. My wife's going to be rich. And Holman says, Rick, here's what I think. I don't know, but here's my theory. You're out there. Maybe somebody set this up. Yeah, Keegan and Tony Klein. Maybe you're out there. We know you have anger issues. Your wife told us before that you have some type of anger issues and depression and, you know, these types of issues. And maybe the girl said something to you. I don't know. Maybe you said go down the hill, which we know. The experts said you say go down the hill. You get there and realize, you know, they piss you off for whatever reason. You racked the gun. You didn't realize you racked the gun to scare them. A round popped out. You see what I mean? So they have this entire fantasy world scenario that they've constructed. And this is what he's pushing at Rick with. And Rick says, I know what you're saying, but what I'm telling you is that that bullet did not come from my gun. If it was found at the murder scene or on the bridge, like, it didn't come from my gun, is what I'm trying to tell you. You believe in science. You believe in analytics. You believe our lab that round's been in storage since the 14th of February 2017. I'm telling you, any round involved in this whole damn thing did not come from my gun, says Rick. But we have evidence. And Rick says, I don't carry my gun. I carry my gun if we go fishing along the river or night fishing. I carry my gun if we're going to go out and tromp through the woods mushroom hunting. That's about the only times I even carry my gun. And I'm going to skip ahead a bit because they go on and on and on. And Jerry says, I can't lie to you. Promise you. Jerry says, I can't lie to you. I can't lie and say, hey, I have an official document right here saying that this exam was done on this round and we found it at the scene. I can't make any of that up. I can't lie to you, but he's just lied like more than a handful of times. And Rick again says, what I'm telling you, there's no way that a bullet from my gun ended up anywhere near a murder scene. Okay. And they go back so many times about this gun. And he says, it's a certified original document. I can't type this shit up and say, oh, I'm not lying. All right. Um, we're going to present this to a jury of your peers that's going to say, Rick did this. But he won't talk to us, so we don't know what he's done. He's just some crazy monster that chases around teenage girls and wants to torture them and do whatever. That's what they're going to say. And now your wife and daughter and your friends and your family have to live with that. And Rick says, exactly, they already have to. You've already done the damage. So you see how this is going? And of course, then he brings in the wife who they've just abused for a while. Okay, then they bring Kathy in, and this pisses Rick off even more because they bring her in, and they try to use that. But let me bring this up. Let's see. Let me pull this one off. Let's see if I can get this happening.
Which means absolutely nothing. Out came from your gun.
Then
And
you've
told me
taken it from somewhere else then. Because it's not possible.
I did not take it from somewhere else. It was logged in. It was taken as photograph. You think we fucking went and stole your fucking round and threw it down by a fucking dead girl's foot? This ain't fucking TV. This is realistic.
I understand.
We collected that fucking item on February the 14th. We didn't take it from anywhere else but that fucking scene. And we didn't take your gun from anywhere else. else. We took it from your fucking house.
I'm telling you, I can't explain something.
And I'm telling you, the fucking analysts explain it. You can't get past this.
Can you please let my wife out?
Absolutely. Come on, Kathy.
I love you, baby.
Boy, that moment pisses me off real bad. Yeah, come on, Kathy. He's not your wife, Jerry. Okay, Holman? She's not your wife. I'm sorry. Kathy is not your wife. You don't tell her what. Come on, Kathy. It's not you and Kathy against Rick. But I want to play this ending for you because this is the most telling part of all of this. Okay? Because the facts are the facts. You can go watch this in its entirety and the other one and all this. It doesn't pay to even watch all this. It's all in black and white. Read it in the transcripts. You'll understand it better. And that's what we just did, by the way. We hit the highlights of these two interviews or interrogations. And so, but I do want to play this next piece for you so you can see like this escalation up to the moment that they put the cuffs on Rick. So we're gonna allow this to play out when he comes back in. And and I think when you take this as a whole, this really paints a picture of what has happened now for 8 years. Because remember, Rick wasn't the only one that got this treatment, right? I mean, to be honest, Reese Davis got this exact same treatment in 2017. Okay, for those of you who don't know yet, Reese Davis got this exact same treatment in 2017 when he brought up Ron Logan. When he mentioned the things that Ron had said to him over the course of many, 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 many days and hours and conversations and a long period of trust building. When Reese went to Jerry Holman to give this information about Ron's statements of his knowledge of what transpired, Holman did this same thing that you're about to see to Reese. And so this is a pattern. This goes back years to 2017. And remember, Holman's been over this the entire time. So let's take a little listen at what the outcome of this was and what started this entire thing uh, that we're still addressing to this day.
You're gonna pay for what you've done to my wife.
What am I
If
doing?
you want to
What?
fuck with me, but you leave my wife out of this. Fuck, leave me out of it.
No, you're involved in this. You're fucking rounds there, Rick.
No, it's not.
I can see you're getting pissed off. I
I
understand.
am pissed off. Did you not see my wife?
Did you not see these fucking two girls dead?
No,
That's what happened. You got fucking pissed off at them. You fucking dragged them down a fucking hill, and you fucking killed them. Don't fucking tell me you didn't.
I didn't kill anybody.
Bullshit. Fucking upset for a reason, not
Because you guys are trying to kill somebody.
You're trying to tell me that I'm not making this fucking round shit up, Rick. It is what it is.
I'm done talking. Arrest me.
Happy to. Be fucking happy to, because I tried to fucking help you and you wouldn't fucking do it.
Oh, you're helping me.
I'm guilty and I know it, and I'm gonna fucking prove it.
Okay.
And I'm not paying for any of this shit. You're paying. This is on you. This ain't on me. It's fucking on you, Rick. You had your fucking opportunity. Fuck. Fucking bully.
And that is what we call policing in the United States of America in this modern day and age. Is there any wonder? Is there any wonder? You see, when history looks back upon this whole thing, history is not going to look kindly upon all of this, especially when the information that will be coming out in the next days, weeks, and months comes to the surface and you see all that really transpired behind the scenes in this investigation. When you see the multiple examples in terms of evidence of corruption, of intentionally looking away from verified information, from verified whistleblowers, from verified confessions, you will see, like we all see, that this is a wrong, and this wrong must be righted. And whether or not the Court of Appeals or the appellate panel decides to make this right, whether or not post-conviction relief decides to make this right, the Supreme Court decides to make this right, somebody's going to have to make this right. Maybe it's going to be the FBI and some sort of RICO that drops down on this community. But let's be real here. The community of Delphi deserves a RICO. Let's be clear. A RICO is well deserved, and it's probably going to be coming. And so if Indiana had any sort of semblance of self-preservation, Indiana would now, at this point in time, right this wrong. Not only would they free Rick Allen, but they would go and arrest Keegan Klein, Tony Klein, tell the truth about Ron Logan, and any of these other individuals who are out there on February 12th and 13th, at the time this happened to these young girls, and who were responsible for the condition these young girls ended up in. They would all be addressed. This entire endeavor to hide the truth of this crime would be uncovered, the truth would be told, and people would go to prison. And that's the only acceptable outcome. The only acceptable outcome. And because I'm an optimist, I'm confident, actually, I'm sure it's going to happen. Can't tell you how, can't tell you when. I'm not in control of that. It's the only acceptable outcome. It's what's demanded. Because we have to live in a country whereby justice operates blindly and fairly the way it was intended. And until that happens, the public's not going to shut up. The honorable law enforcement officers who have knowledge of this and who are involved in this and who have been observing this, they're not going to stop. The good lawyers who see this and the people who were responsible, they all know what's happened. Okay. And let's be real here. We all know what's happened. It's a Barry job. Now, question is, why is it a Barry job? See, those are the unknowns. They're the known knowns. They are the unknowns. They're the known unknowns and the unknown unknowns. And that's what we're dealing with here, the unknown unknowns. The why, perhaps the most important question. Why? What is being buried? Why is it being buried? Who does burying this protect? And I think that's the point I'd like to leave you with. Rumors are that there's some federal sniffing around Indiana. And I hope those rumors are true. Because once that dog gets sniffing, it don't stop. Anyhow, I hope that you all have enjoyed this brief series, um, taking a look at this appellate perspective. Now, remember, this is called The Fruit of the Poisonous Tree, the unconstitutional search and arrest of Richard Allen. The other two episodes being the Gitmo treatment of Richard M. Allen regarding the alleged confessions of a U.S. veteran who was coerced by torture in Guantanamo Bay of Central Indiana, Gitmo, in other words, Westville, and obstruction of justice and the conspiracy to fix the trial of Richard Allen, wherein the prosecutor and judge were proven to be, and actually in collusion with some YouTubers and online sleuths, um, culpable for constitutional violations. So those are your three episodes, part 1, 2, and 3, covering the entirety of the appellate arguments here in the case of Richard Allen versus the state of Indiana. And hey, let's be real here. There's a lot of us doing a lot of work behind the scenes, not to free Rick Allen, but to tell the truth about the Delphi murders and what really happened to Abby and Libby, so that Rick Allen would be freed by the truth. And those responsible would be brought to justice, which ultimately would lead to justice for the victims, because justice for the victims, in my opinion, in my mind, in my heart and soul, is the truth being told about what happened to them, thereby honoring their lives. Because although nothing will bring them back, the least we could do is honor their lives by telling the truth about what happened to them. And that's what I'd like to leave you all with in your consciousness, in your hearts and minds, to fuel you as the days go by. The only acceptable outcome is the truth about what happened to Libby and Abby. That's the closest you'll ever get to justice, no matter what happens to the perpetrators. Truth is number one. And so, hopefully, that will stay with you. And we can allow Libby and Abby to rest in peace eternally. That's what we're looking for. That's all I'm looking for. And I know all of you who watch, that's what you're looking for. That's why we're all here. So thanks for coming. Again, any new viewers, I'm so very happy to see you here and appreciate you finding us. We're a great community here, and we care about each other. We love each other. Many of us have become fast friends, and that's not to be taken for granted. And so we welcome you in here. Please let us know you're here. We'd like to hear your thoughts and opinions, no matter the degree to which you agree or disagree. Let us know what you think. Um, and join the comment section down below. And also support the channel and our other creators who also speak on this issue. Okay? And for myself, you can support the channel here, as you see scrolling below at Cash App. You can find my link tree, where in all the manners to support the channel financially, through our other platforms, and and our community can be found. So if you need anything, you can find that at the link tree, including how to contact me if you'd like to send an email or anything like that. I appreciate hearing from you. But please do support the channel. Send the cash apps, send the super chats, the super thanks, the likes, the comments, and share the content. And please participate in the channels and check out our friends who are online also. Anyhow, I'd like to thank you all for being here. And we're going to go out and say goodnight to our friends, and then we'll be on out of here. And please go watch all the other Delphi related channels and you form your own opinions. Okay, we appreciate you. So, special shout out and thanks to my main mod, Deb. Thanks, Deb, for being here. Appreciate you always. Also, Swade Smith, Kate, Carol, Sarah, Critter Mama, Noe, Kay, Lisa, Bezo Jones. Who else is here? It's a New Day. All Eyes. I'm sorry. Eye of Apophis. All Eyes of Apophis. Um, Buried Answers. Ninja Warrior Assassin. Big Fishy. Victims News on Air. Erica Morse. Okay, who else is in here? Criminal Network, Digital, Christina, Heavy Metal Rehab, Digital. Did I say Digital? Who's Her Daddy? True Grit Crime. Who else is in here? Goddess. Everyone who was here, please let your name be seen below so I can tell you thank you if I haven't already called you. Thanks for all the support. David Rogers, MJ Lewis, Swade Smith, everyone who was here tonight, anyone on the replay, thanks for watching. Matt Payton, hello to you. Again, Heavy Metal Rehab, appreciate you. Yeah, and that's it. I think that's it. Now, keep in mind that all of this paperwork that we diligently go through day in, day out, it's all available to you. If you have any trouble finding any of it, shoot me an email. I'll send you a copy. We got everything. All right. So thank you very much. Hey, thank you, Becky. Becky's here. Becky B33. Thank you, Becky. And thanks, everyone. Hug your kids, hug your wife. God bless. We'll see you next time. Okay. Good night.